Hello, everybody. Sorry if I interrupted any previous conversations that were going on. My name is Cameron Dennis. I am the president and founder of the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, one of the two organizations co-hosting this event. Hey, Sarag, how's it going? If you haven't noticed, there's a lot of awesome people in the networking portion of it. Every event we start with, so by the way, we do this every single week. The Blockchain Acceleration Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit that starts accredited blockchain courses at universities. We primarily we're started in California, but now we're moving sort of outside and to the rest of the country. And so we host these weekly events to sort of just get the community together, get you interfacing with some awesome companies. Today we have Microsoft coming to talk about how they're using blockchain to issue royalties for gaming. And so I think that's super, super exciting. But before we get started, just a couple sort of housekeeping notes. I want to tell you a little bit more about BAF and drop our membership application. So it's 100% free to become a member of BAF. And as a member, you get access to our beta recruiting program. So we have a pretty large network of companies and people interested in hiring all of you. Maybe not all of you, but most of you. And this is the best way for us to sort of understand what you're looking for, try to connect you with the best people. And then we also have a Discord channel that you will be emailed once you get fill out the application form. And this is sort of where we share news, best practices. Last week we held an event with Sheet 56 and the Blockchain Education Network about hosting, or how do we increase diversity in our recruiting processes as a club? Because what the BAF is a nonprofit managed by all the different blockchain clubs within our network, that we actually give them board seats. So, we're putting our money where our mouth is when we're saying we're sort of creating a decentralized organization. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce the speakers for today. And if all the speakers can turn their mics and cameras on. Hello, Jagadeesh. It's a pleasure to see you.
Hello, everyone.
Sean, and I think we're just missing Sid. Hello. So Sid, if you can find the mic and camera button. If not, I'm going to invite you to screen. All right, great. So, Sean, I'll let you take it away, and I'll see all of you at the end of the event.
Correction.
Yeah, thanks, Cameron, so much. Just to let you guys know about where I'm from and BAF. I'm vice president of blockchain at Michigan. Joined BAF about a month ago and first talked with Cameron, and he's just been such a great boon ever since. Whenever I've had questions about leading a club or just interacting with anyone in the blockchain space, he's been there, and it's been an incredible ride. I'm excited to be here today, but let me introduce you guys to the people you're really here to see. So Sid Kasat and Jagadeesh Kedarisetty from Microsoft Blockchain. So Sid's a recent grad from UC Irvine, where he studied computer science and had a minor in entrepreneurship and management. He founded and was president of blockchain at UCI. And while at UC Irvine, he worked on everything from IoT research to finance at Goldman Sachs. Needless to say, he's done it all. Now he's a software engineer at Microsoft working on blockchain. Jagadeesh is also a software engineer at Microsoft. He started his career at Infosys in backend development, eventually becoming a tech lead. He transitioned as a software engineer into blockchain, and now he's also pursuing a master's in computer science at University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. It's with great pleasure that I that I welcome them here, because together, Sid and Jagadeesh have done some incredible work at Microsoft, particularly with blockchain, which I guess is why we're all here today. Today, they'll talk about how they revamped the entire financial system behind Xbox games, and they're reducing the delay in developers viewing their transactions from 45 days to just minutes. So they'll definitely tell you a lot more about this, but first, I'd love for you guys to meet the people behind this magic. So, Sid, can you share your story transitioning from president of a blockchain organization to working as a software engineer in blockchain at a big tech company? And what advice do you have for students looking to go into blockchain?
Thanks, Ishan. Thanks for the intro. Thanks, Cameron, for setting this up. Yeah, I was in most of your shoes like 2 years ago. I was a third-year student at UC Irvine. We had founded the club of blockchain at UCI, and I was like looking to like try and like do more of blockchain after I graduate. So I started like reading more articles on LinkedIn, started reaching out to people. I saw this article, like a cool article on Xbox, kind of like leveraging blockchain. And I was like, oh, that sounds like a pretty cool idea. And I saw like 4 names on there. I messaged all of them on LinkedIn, and one of them like responded back saying like, hey man, like it looks pretty cool. Let's set up some interviews. And then now today that guy is like my boss's boss. So like you never know like where the connections are. Just like kind of like reach out to everyone and like anyone you can like see. You never know like when your next breakthrough is. In terms of the blockchain club, it was a really great experience. Me and my board like had a lot of fun activities, fun events planned. When we were like hosting these events, we invited like a lot of speakers, hosted like a lot of workshops, like similar to what like Cameron is trying to do over here. So yeah, it has been a great journey moving to Microsoft and moving to Seattle. Yeah.
That's an incredible story, and hopefully one that I can one day emulate. Jagdeesh, I'd also love to hear about your path. It's a bit different since you came from a software engineer into blockchain, but there's a lot of people who are maybe going to break into blockchain as well. So can you share your story?
Sure. Firstly, thank you. Thank you for welcoming us for awesome interactions with folks from University of Michigan and other folks who are keen interested in the blockchain technology as such. I started my career back in 2010, and it was the time of the cloud computing era. It was a great opportunity for me to actually connect with the cloud services, work on the distributed systems, and after the initial hype, there are a lot of organizations which has made the blockchain, cloud computing investments a lot and made it a strong technology. And we have witnessed over the past decade, the cloud has been predominant in the complete technology world. And I had a pretty good experience working on the cloud for the last few years, and had a great experience building different systems at the enterprise level scale. And I should say 3 years ago, I actually moved on to the blockchain, knowing that blockchain being new into the space, we wanted to definitely evaluate, at least I personally wanted to understand and put all my prior experience that I have earned from the cloud ecosystem and see how I can bring it to the blockchain and make it more friendly and more enterprise level scale.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear more about your guys' stories, but also want to go into some of the tech stuff that you guys have been working on at Microsoft. So if you have any other questions about their journey, feel free to put them in the Q&A. We'll be putting, just put any questions that you might have in there and upvote ones that you like instead of repeating them. And that way, at the end, we can ask what other questions you guys want to hear. So without further ado, let's get started. I know this event is called Microsoft Royalties using blockchain, but what exactly are royalties? And I know you said it's an Xbox. So how do royalties work in gaming?
Yeah, so just want to like quickly like touch upon like what exactly is royalties. Royalties is nothing but like a payment term or a contractual term that is agreed between two different organizations or entities for the use of an asset that they have created or a copyright work. It's not only in the gaming industry, it's in the whole entertainment industry, and even like further, like let's say the music or the movie industry, where every artist are being paid for every stream of their music, let's say on Spotify, or if there is a ticket being sold for a movie, then like there is some kind of royalty behind the scenes. So it's everywhere. It's a big industry. Royalties in gaming in particular is expanding and like growing like really crazy. It has billions of dollars in annual revenue right now. And like we are pretty excited to like work on this theme. So let me just give you a quick example. So here we have Microsoft and a game developer, which is, let's say they develop a basketball game and they want to sell this on the Xbox platform. So they will come to Microsoft, they will talk about it, and they'll be like, okay, these are the contracts, let's agree on them. So the contracts they agree with is like $100 for a particular game, and they agree with the 70% royalty rate. So now let's say tomorrow Ishan is interested in that game. He goes on to Xbox, he buys that game for $100. Then Microsoft gets to keep $30 of it, and then $70 is returned or is given to the content publisher as a royalty. So that's like a high-level overview. This is like a very simple contractual term that I showed over here. There's much more complicated stuff that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, yeah, that makes a bit more sense. Two things actually. One, if there's a PowerPoint, I highly encourage all of you to press full screen on it so you can see what they're trying to present. But also, can you talk about how game creators currently receive their royalties and what the traditional process is like?
Yeah, for sure. So this is like a 100-foot view of how the process is. It's really complicated. Like, don't even like look at it. Just like look at the main points, which is essentially these different entities that you can see. So content publisher for sure, Xbox for sure, and then the content provider, marketing agencies, like these different like entities that work with us to like make this possible. There's a lot of data duplication that happens across like every organization. Every organization maintains their own copy, which kind of like leads to like is error prone. Tamper is not very like it can lead to tampering of data. Also, like the other organizations do not have any transparency because we are the ones who initiate the transaction, and the transaction like flows through our system to everyone. So if we make any changes on our end, let's say the rate was changed from 70% to 60%, the royalties will be less for them, but they don't have any way to know this unless they do like an audit request against Microsoft. So that's like the current process. One of the major things as well is we have a lot of rules and regulations in place right now, which restrict us to like show the sales data up to 45 days after the month. So on the left side, you see that box. If I have to make any sales decisions or any marketing decisions, if I'm a game developer, let's say the sales in Seattle are doing much more better than in LA, I want to like change my marketing strategy pretty quickly. And if in the current process, I won't be able to do that. So we are trying to improve this process and make it more efficient for our partners.
I just looked at that diagram, and yeah, it's definitely complicated to say the least. So you said you wanted to make it more efficient. I'm guessing because of the title, that's where blockchain comes in. Can you tell me more about the decision to transition to a blockchain system, and how'd you realize that blockchain was the answer?
Yeah, for sure. I will let Jagadeesh talk about like why and like how the journey was. I'll talk about like what blockchain is and like how it comes into our particular solution. So as you saw in the previous slide, the data duplication was one of the major aspects, and also like the transparency and the trust aspect of like this whole system, because right now Microsoft is a central system. Who gets these transactions, who calculates the royalties and then pays the partner. The partner essentially gets like the end result. They don't have any visibility in the whole process. So if you look at this diagram, it kind of like, we kind of like streamline the process where we have a particular smart contract. This is all on the chain. We use Quorum, and Jagadeesh will talk about that. So we have a smart contract with the content publisher where we decide on these contractual terms. We translate them into smart contracts. So as soon as the transaction happens on Xbox, that flows through, hits the chain, it does the calculation by itself, and is available for all the partners. So let's say tomorrow, this is what we call as a chain effect or a network effect, and this is our biggest point of selling of why we are using blockchain. Let's say tomorrow the marketing agency comes as a node on this consortium. They have visibility into the transaction that originated in Microsoft all the way through. And let's say even they have some downstream entities or downstream organizations that they talk to. They can create smart contracts, deploy it on the chain, and have royalties based on that one particular transaction that's flowing through the system. So that's one of the biggest advantages that we feel blockchain can play in over here. And on the right side, as you see, like the shared data, any edits to the contracts that are being made, everybody sees that on a real-time basis.
Wow. Yeah, it definitely seems like now that if I can see what's happening in real time, I can actually adjust instead of just being blind in my marketing and how I'm trying to distribute this to users. Yeah.
Right.
So I've actually never built a full end-to-end blockchain system before. Apologies for my dog. He's very cute, but very loud. So can you tell me a bit about this journey of implementing a blockchain system?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And yeah, thank you, Seth, for detailing around the royalties business that we do at Microsoft. And our journey was not an easy, for sure. We started our journey for building this new blockchain platform in the late 2017. It was a time the Bitcoin value has rose from a couple of thousands to 20,000 to its peak. And the entire world has actually saw the growth of the cryptocurrency. And at the time, enterprises are actually looking to evaluate the blockchain as a technology. And we are one in them. We were even evaluating the feasibility of the blockchain technology for our enterprise systems, especially for royalties as such. And we collaborated with different teams. We collaborated with EY, Ernst & Young. We collaborated with JP Morgan. JP Morgan has started working on this permissioned blockchain, which is called Quorum. And they were actually pioneered in permission blockchain, which is a key thing for any enterprise applications. Because in an enterprise application, it's very important to ensure the privacy of the transaction that is being transacted between the parties. Say, Microsoft, for the royalties context, Microsoft has to pay a royalties for a specific partner. And there shouldn't be any scenario where the other partners should know what is the contract agreement terms with Microsoft. So that privacy is a key thing in any of the royalties business. And Quorum has this privacy model called Constellation. And the idea is to ingest this transaction or the smart contract or the chain by encrypting with the partner key, so that only the partner would be able to decrypt this transaction or the smart contract, and no other members on the consortium would be able to, they would see that there is a transaction exists, but they wouldn't be able to decrypt it, or they would be able to look at the details of the transaction. And we were successful in building the initial pilot with certain use cases, and we went pilot with certain number of partners, I think in the early 2019. But there was always a challenge for us to look at the initial technology and the developer experience that was out there. For setting up the pilot partners, it was very hard for us to build a consortium, invite the members, maintain the virtual machines, and ensuring that smart contract versioning is maintained, and so and so. And that was a bit painful. And that was the case till we actually had Azure Blockchain Service. We collaborated with Azure Blockchain team internally, and we shared all our experiences that we had 2 years past, and we had shared our challenges with them, and we collaborated to have better overall experience in the blockchain as a service. Blockchain being Azure offering, they are pretty good at providing a fully managed service. So it's not only with the blockchain as a service, but if you look at any of the Azure offerings, they are pretty smart and pretty good at maintaining these services fully managed. What does that really mean is they help us in setting up the infrastructure. They help us in building the required virtual machines, looking at the health of the virtual machines, ensuring the required governance is being taken care, So the Azure Blockchain Service team really helped with setting up the required infrastructure in the network. And in addition to that, they also have a special or an extension capability for consortium as such. So you can easily build a consortium in a few clicks. You can create a consortium, you can invite members to the consortium, even within the Azure offering or even from the outside Azure offering, you can invite them as members to the consortium, and you can start sharing your blocks or transactions with them in a few minutes of time. I would definitely go ahead and show how quickly you can build a consortium or the blockchain network within few clicks. Besides just ensuring on the network maintenance and consortium management, they also had taken a few steps to improve the overall developer experience for building the blockchain. And building from the empty or scaffolding the project, helping us with building the smart contracts, deploying the smart contracts, testing them, and even integrating with any other enterprise level application solutions that's out there. From here, let me take a step back and share my screen and show exactly how Azure Blockchain Service has improved on the overall blockchain experience for a developer.
Are you sharing your screen? Okay, awesome.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. So I'm using my one-stop shop favorite Visual Studio IDE. So Visual Studio has this extension called Blockchain for Ethereum. And this is published by Microsoft. And in my case, I already have this extension installed. And what this extension really does help is it provides us to start with building the smart contracts, and it's going to help us with the building and deploying the smart contracts to your local Ganesh environment, which is an Ethereum-based protocol. And we can also do the deployments to the Azure Blockchain Service directly from your Visual Studio extension. I can walk through a couple of steps here for someone to easily kickstart or building a blockchain solution from your Visual Studio Code. I'm going to open the command palette and search by blockchain. So by default, you're going to see a decent list of commands, and I'm not going to go through each and every of these commands. Feel free to explore more on this part. I'm going to touch base on a few things which are key important for anyone to kickstart with the implementation. So I'll go with a new Solidity project. Yeah, it's gonna take a couple of seconds to build the required blockchain solution for us to start with. Or in fact, I have already imported that for the demo purpose, so I can even open that in the meantime. Right. So once you have that command execute, so you're going to see a project which has a different folder structures. The key things that we need to look at is the contracts, where we can start writing our own smart contracts. And by default, once it scaffold the default project, it's going to help you with something like a Hello Blockchain Solidity file. And the other important factor is the migrations project. So migrations folder. This is going to help us deploying the smart contracts to the required network. And it comes with some default test folder where you can start building the tests for the smart contracts that are out there. And besides just building this new smart contract project, you can start running other commands which gonna help you with building the project Oops, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm going to go and do a build contract. So you can click on any of the Solidity files, or you can even go from the terminal and you can say just truffle compile. So your extension comes with your truffle suite, which is kind of helping you with the developer environment so that you can build your smart contracts and deploy the smart contracts to your local Ganesh environment, which is part of the truffle suite. There's a lot of network lag.
I guess until like that loads, the portal as well.
Yeah. So, sure. This extension is helping any developer to start building the project from the scratch, and they can continue with compilation of their smart contracts and then deploy the smart contracts to the network. And when you pick the network, you have an options to pick the networks, which can be in your local Ganesh network, or you can even connect to your Azure Blockchain Service. So I'm going to talk about how we can create a consortium on the Azure management portal, and then create a members and deploy your smart contracts to the members. So here I see the files are compiled. I'm going to do a migrate. And once the smart contracts are built, you're going to see this build folder, which is going to have your output files and which is going to contain your contract APIs. So you would be needing these contract APIs in case if you wanted to interact with the chain directly with the smart contracts that are deployed. Any of the applications which is interacting with the network would be needed with the contract APIs, which are key important things. So when I go to the command palette and look for the deploy contracts, there are two options that you see from your Visual Studio Code extension. One, you can go with the local development environment, and the other one, you can go with the Azure Blockchain Service, which is a pre-built consortium that I have created before the demo, which you can directly deploy your smart contracts there. Let me actually jump onto the Azure portal through which you can manage your consortium that has been built on the Azure services. You can create a new consortium service just by searching for an Azure blockchain service as a new resource. And in my case, I already created Azure blockchain service consortium, which helps you to create multiple members and invite the members to the consortium. And I'm going with the Quorum as a protocol for us for this demo. And you can invite members to the consortium who would be part of your Azure subscription world or even beyond Azure subscription world. The other key things the team has also developed was to look at the metrics of this transaction that are ingested to the chain. You can see how many blocks that are being mined. It's like by default, the Genesis block is configured with 5 seconds. So you will be seeing 12 blocks for every minute. And yeah, at this instant, I'm not ingesting any transactions. So you'll be seeing it as 0. So this metrics has been put together so that we don't need to be worried about looking at the transactions on the chain. And this metrics is a quick snapshot of how your overall network is helping out or working out. And yeah, within the Azure blockchain members, you can actually create different types of nodes. You can create a validator nodes, or you can create a transaction nodes. So the validator nodes are the one which is primarily helping with the consensus. It's going to help us with the mining, and the quorum uses the proof of authority protocol to mine these transactions that are being ingested, and the other transaction node get these transactions replicated over the network. Yep. Yeah, this is what I want to show with using the Azure blockchain extension and building a blockchain service from the Azure portal, which helps a developer to quickly spin up the environment, do the development of the smart contract project from the scratch, and build them, test them, and deploy them. Sid, over to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Jagadeesh. Let me share. For some reason, I can't select the screen. I can only select the application. All right, perfect. Thanks for the demo. So quickly moving on, I don't want to take too much time. I want to answer some of the questions. So quickly moving on to the high overview of how the system is put in place, the architecture of the royalties Xbox royalties blockchain system. So as you can see over here, Azure Blockchain Service or blockchain is just a minor part of this whole architecture. Because at this high level, enterprise level applications, you need to have a different features as well. You need to make sure you are doing the basic things. So I'll quickly walk you through those things. So as a user, you'll see they'll log on to this UI, which is the portal where they can see transactions and what is happening with their contracts. We have this ingester service, which kind of takes transactions from upstream, which is Xbox, or whether it be Bing in the future. It will transform those transactions into a JSON object in however we want it and ingest them onto the chain. As soon as we ingest them on the chain, the smart contracts that I was mentioning earlier, where all the calculation happens, it goes through that and it emits an event in the end with the calculated amount. And the event is nothing but a log on the chain. And we have a service called as event listener, which keeps on listening to these logs or these events and then saves them to the off-chain DB. And as you can see, after we save it to the off-chain DB, we have to still be compliant with all these financial regulations, because as soon as finance and payment is involved, you need to make sure you're giving a statement. You have to make sure the payments are going on time. The other big thing is you have to make sure the numbers are getting reported to Wall Street on a monthly basis. So that's with accounting. And we have a lot more services and a lot more other things that go off from this off-chain DB. As you can see, we work with the Azure AD, the whole Azure ecosystem. So Azure AD provides us the ability to have secure and permissions in place for our applications. Key Vault makes sure that our secrets are safe, our DB connection strings are good. App Insights mainly to make sure the production environment is going okay. If there are any issues, let's raise an alert and let's go and look into it. Power BI to visualize all these really cool visualizations of the transactions that happen in a real time. So that's the whole high-level overview. I want to quickly sum up, just like say wrap up things by saying like Azure Blockchain Service has definitely like helped us like get up to speed pretty quickly, and like has reduced a lot of our manual work. Like initially we used to like do patching on the VMs, make sure they're compliant, upgrade quorum versions, and all those maintenance things. Now if we leverage Azure Blockchain Service, they take care of everything for us. We don't need to do anything. We just focus on development and like delivering. So Azure Blockchain Service, like we ourselves are as a customer, and like we love it. So just like summing up with that. Another quick thing is we have a media blog or a media article that projects. I'll share that link in the chat for anybody who's interested to like read more about it. With that, we can move on to the questions. Ishan?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys so much for giving such a deep insight into how blockchain works at big tech and really in the real world. Coming from an at least currently academia background, feels it's interesting to see how blockchain differs in an actual system environment, because I think, like you guys said, blockchain is still only such a small component in a very large system that might be based off of blockchain. Yeah, but with that said, there are some awesome questions that I'd really like to hear about the answers to. So yeah, let's get started. For question one, this process seems like a legal nightmare. Yes, it does. Does this process only work for in-house game development, or can it be included to external game developers as well?
This process is applicable for everyone. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of things that are happening at the same time. The way we are trying to like streamline this is through smart contracts and having these different entities as nodes on the chain. So our final goal is to essentially have approvals and everything on the chain. So as soon as like that party gives their approval, like they agree with these terms, we agree with these terms, that contract is on the chain. We don't need to do anything like legally or anything. Like all of that is coded on the smart contracts. So that's like our final goal, and that's where we want to be.
Awesome. Yeah. Another really interesting question is that what are some of Microsoft's other current blockchain ambitions?
Yeah, maybe we can actually answer this in two ways. Maybe from the technical perspective on how Microsoft is trying to empower the blockchain enthusiasts in the world to build the blockchain applications from the scratch and to an enterprise scale. So in that terms, so far the use cases for the blockchain was very isolated, and there is a pretty strong opportunity for them to integrate with existing business use cases out there. And for that to happen, the technology has to grow much further ahead. And Microsoft is investing a pretty good amount of time to build more and more connectors to this blockchain network. Say after the transactions are being ingested, how quickly someone can actually get this data outside the network and being consumed by other applications. So either integrating with any other off-chain databases, integrating with any serverless functions out there, and integrating with any reporting services. So Microsoft as a service, it's actually improvising in establishing these connections where someone can easily integrate the blockchain system to their existing heavily built architectures that are out there.
Yeah, and the other business kind of answer to that, like the other ambitions, I would say, is like Starbucks. That's one of the bigger projects as well, where we have a supply chain in like, I guess like it's already out there, where you can like track the beans all the way from your farm all the way to your cup of coffee. We have other partnerships as well with like Singapore Airlines. I heard like about something about like NASDAQ as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening with like Microsoft blockchain. So just like look it up. You'll definitely find stuff.
That's really cool. So what I'm hearing is the future is essentially BaaS, blockchain as a service.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, good for everyone who's trying to get hired. And that actually segues well into our next question, which has quickly risen to the top. Is the Microsoft blockchain team currently hiring?
Yeah, I would say yes, for sure. Our team, as well as hiring up to some developers. I don't know like how many, but like we are definitely hiring as well. So yeah, just keep an eye on it, and like just like reach out to people on LinkedIn. Like that's like my first advice for sure. Jagadeesh, you're saying something?
True. I think, yeah, having a good network is definitely a good thing to enter into any of big companies where they are investing a lot on the blockchain. And I strongly believe and see the future of the blockchain being on a rise going forward in the next future. And I believe after the cloud computing, the blockchain is the next thing.
I love to hear that. Another very interesting question. So why a private blockchain, and perhaps more specifically, why Quorum?
So yeah, at least in our royalties use case in specific, since Microsoft partners with thousands of partners, and we definitely have to ensure the transactions are privately transferred from our Microsoft member to the partner member. We definitely have to ensure the transactions are not visible to any other partners who are on the node or who are on the consortium. So that made us to start with the private blockchain. And at the time, we explored all the permissioned blockchain platforms or frameworks that are out there. If I could remember, there are three ledgers that we have evaluated. One, definitely the Quorum. We evaluated Hyperledger. We have evaluated Coda. So looking at the transaction performance, we opted for Quorum over Hyperledger, and we have equally weighed Quorum with Coda. Since the Quorum is kind of a fork of the Ethereum, all the versions, new upgrades to the Ethereum would just propagate it to the Quorum. So that's one key thing that we see. And even the team that they are working with the Quorum enhancements, we were able to get collaborated with them quite easily, and they were very friendly in extending this framework to the enterprise scale.
Yeah, definitely. I guess that goes to show the importance of business relationships, like you said before about hiring, but also with as a game developer, I'm sure I don't want anyone else to see my financial transactions. So it definitely makes sense that we're using a private blockchain. Another more big tech specific one is, how do you collaborate with EY, and what do synergies look like in big tech?
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting question. So with EY being an auditing firm, they work with like these different like game publishers and game developers, and if they see any discrepancies or any gaps with like the way the royalties are being paid, they kind of like raise an audit request, and like EY comes in and like looks at like our transactions and make sure like they match up. So like a lot of countless hours and like countless resources are being spent like from EY as well as Microsoft to like kind of like reconcile this and like show them, okay, everything matches. So EY wanted to come in and like they want to participate as an audit node, that's what we call it, where they will be able to see transactions as well. Of course, like they will be like bound to like some rules and regulations, but yeah, they will be able to see transactions for whichever partner they're like looking at. And make sure like the recons and all these audit history and like all these transactions are coming through properly. So that kind of like takes out like the trust part of it, and like there is no audit request like required anymore. So that's how like we collaborated with EY. They are an awesome team to work with, like really cool people, really smart people. Yeah, that probably, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Makes a lot of sense. Keeping an eye on the time, I think we have time for one or two more questions. So does Microsoft run blockchain hackathons by any chance?
I have not heard of anything. I know for sure like we have some internal hackathons, and I see a question which is pretty interesting. which talks about, are you guys planning on building on e-commerce for NFTs? Like Jagadeesh and I and our team, like we just recently like did a hackathon like 2 months ago or like a month ago now, which focused on like a proof of concept for this NFT like non-fungible tokens. And like I see what your question, the other question is what currency would be used in this case. We were still like brainstorming on that. We kind of like came up with like our own token for now, just like for the hack. But that's really like a great like future thing that we're looking at, like tokenization of assets and also in-game tokenization. So those are the couple of things that we're looking at.
Yeah, for sure. And I think one question really wraps this off quite nicely is, where do you see blockchain being 5-10 years in the future, both for Microsoft and for the world?
Yeah. I
Okay.
like, as I was always mentioning, the blockchain would be the next cloud computing thing, and I strongly believe the blockchain has a good feature for the upcoming use cases. So we saw a pretty good hype in the early 2080s and 2090s, where most of the organizations has evaluated different use cases, and the hype has gone down, knowing that technology is not that matured enough. But now I see it's being more stable, and most of the frameworks are being built considering all the enterprises, what they are actually looking for, either from the privacy perspective, either from the integration to the existing systems as such, or addressing any of the audit-related challenges. So in that all aspect, as the technology is being built and being more matured in addressing all these questions the existing enterprises has, it has a pretty good potential to go further and be a solution for many of the use cases where multiple parties are involved in sharing the transactions data or sharing the data, and more looking for a decentralized way of computing.
Yeah, and Ishan, I would like to like answer those last 3 questions. They're pretty much like overlapping.
Yeah,
I hate like leaving questions.
Yeah,
on the board.
we actually got permission from Cameron to go until 10, so we can answer everything pretty much.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, so I'll quickly take like those last 3 questions, which talks about Azure Blockchain and ERC and like how it leverages Ethereum. So essentially, Azure Blockchain Service is like I would say like an abstracted layer. They host all these VMs for us. They manage these nodes for us. So you can like essentially put like anything on it. Like Ethereum can be one, Hyperledger Fabric can be one, Coda can be another one. So like it's essentially a platform as a service. Like you don't have to maintain your own nodes. You don't have to maintain any servers, any VMs. Let Azure Blockchain Service like take care of things for you. To the answer, the second part, which is ERC20, yeah, as soon as they support Quorum and Ethereum, ERC20 and ERC721 tokens is definitely a part of it. And as Jagadeesh was showing in the demo earlier, through the VS Code extension, you can also like import like OpenZeppelin like libraries, which has packages for ERC721 tokens, ERC20 tokens. So it comes with like everything. You don't need to worry about anything. And just quickly to answer that resources question, if you just type in like Azure Blockchain Service, you will see a ton of videos online. Microsoft also like publishes like the build conferences as well. So you'll see like those videos, like those demos as well. And just like a quick pointer, like if you sign up on Azure, you get like $200 worth of like Azure credit, which might, I guess, should be good enough for like setting up like a node in a consortium. I am not too sure about the prices, but it's definitely like a $200 credit for you.
Really cool. And definitely take advantage of that resource. I know I'm going to right after this.
Yeah, to be on top of all the blockchain happenings in Microsoft, there are 2 channels which I could suggest. One, go for the channel 9. So in the channel 9, the Azure Blockchain team, the internal team actually publishes the series. They have a series and they publish all the talks that they have. You can search by the Block Talk. So Block Talk is kind of hosted by Microsoft blockchain team. to share all the happenings that's being done in Microsoft internally.
Let me find that and I'll put that in the chat.
Yeah, a link to my channel 9 would be awesome. Oh, here's a good one. What are the long-term effects of switching to a blockchain system? And I'm guessing this is referring to the Xbox royalties. And how much is Microsoft projected to save?
Yeah, go ahead, Jagadeesh.
Sure. Maybe more than in terms of numbers, I would say having factors of reducing the audit that today is being done between number of parties. So audit is the biggest challenge for, auditing is the biggest challenge for any of organizations. So Microsoft being partnered with thousands of partners, every partner would be investing a lot of audit cost in performing these audits quite frequently. So every quarter or every semester, they're gonna do and audit Microsoft systems to evaluate if the transactions are being paid or being calculated as per the agreed contracts or agreed contract terms. Now, there's a huge amount that can be saved by both the parties, both by Microsoft, both by content publisher or developer, not going with this auditing, and in fact rely on the chain smart contracts and rely on the chain transactions. As the transactions are untampered and immutable, nobody can make any changes to it. So it's very transparent, and it's going to build a lot of confidence for the relation between the parties. And from the operations perspective, the only cost that is needed at this instant is to spin up the blockchain consortium. And you don't need to really worry about maintaining the virtual machines. You need not to be worried about any infrastructure maintenance stuff. So you reduce a lot of operations cost over there. And since the Azure Blockchain Service has a close integrations with other Azure cloud offerings, it's quite easy to integrate with the existing systems and take leverage of any of the open services that are available for making your things happen quickly.
You're on mute.
That was bound to happen sooner or later. But thanks, Jagadeesh. I think this next question is kind of a follow-up for your last one, Sid. It says, so the development framework is the same as for Ethereum, assuming Ethereum is supported with Corda, but these services don't actually run on Ethereum?
No, so like Quorum is like a fork of Ethereum. So they are running essentially on Ethereum. It's just like permission and like private like nodes. Like it's not running on like the public Ethereum chain. These nodes that we are hosting or the consortium is like a private consortium. So essentially there is gas that we have to like pay for every transaction, but the gas in this case like doesn't matter. Like it's like $0 for us because it's just a private consortium. So yeah, I hope that answers.
Somewhat of a similar question. Could you talk more about Azure Blockchain Services and how it leverages Ethereum? Trying to better understand the overlap interaction between the systems. And there's a ... So I'm not sure if I'm missing part of that question or if they just put a ...
So we actually have to see Ethereum and the Quorum to be two different blockchains. I would say Ethereum put it under a public blockchain, and see the Quorum or Azure Blockchain Service is helping us to build a private blockchains. And private blockchains are definitely needed something for an enterprises where they wanted to invite members to the consortium. They cannot just put their transactional data onto the public network. So in the same way, every organization can put their own private networks. It's kind of an individual hosting a parties where they invite members to the party and they share the data between them, or they share the happiness between them. It's not a publicly available network. And now Azure Blockchain Service is the one which is helping us to create multiple such smaller private blockchains. So you can create number of consortiums, number of blockchain networks, which is totally isolated with your public Ethereum network. And from the protocol perspective, yes, Azure Blockchain Service, you can spin up with options selecting either you can go by the Quorum as your underlying framework, or you can go by Ethereum as underlying framework, or you can go with Corda, or you can pick any of the framework that can be considered for your network to process.
Okay, yeah. So private blockchains are definitely the future for Azure blockchain as of now.
Yep. So see, Azure Blockchain Service is kind of a kickstart for providing or building a blockchain environment. So Azure Blockchain Service, by default, it is not responsible for the blockchain framework. Instead, it is helping with building the blockchain framework and leveraging all the other connectors that are out there.
Yeah. I don't know why there's some static now. Sorry about that. Another following this train of thought is, have you guys explored Tendermint or Substrate to integrate into Azure and the Microsoft ecosystem in general? What's holding you back?
I don't think we have. I just made a note of it as well to look into it. I haven't looked into it, so we'll do that.
For crowdsourcing these awesome ideas.
See, right? Yeah. Still learning on the day, man. It's like blockchain is never ending.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a very hard question. Let's see if you guys can answer this. But why is my Xbox still running even when I turn it off? Is it listening to me?
I know there is a setting on there which has a fast start, so you can essentially start your Xbox through your phone, and you can install games remotely. So it could be that setting is turned on, so just turn it off, and it should be okay.
Didn't think you guys would actually have an answer to that, but
I had that same thought a month ago when I turned on that setting. I heard noises, and I was like, why is that still giving me the Xbox is still running? And then I understood I turned on that setting which updates things on the back by itself. So could be that.
Yeah. You shouldn't be surprised in future if Xbox really listen to your conversations.
let's hope not, right? Yeah, and the last two are somewhat similar. Does Microsoft plan to switch from Microsoft ID for users to a DID? Not quite sure what a DID is. Maybe you guys know.
Maybe I can just relate that to be a distributed identity.
Yeah. Do you want to take that, Jagadeesh?
I haven't heard much about a complete transitioning from Microsoft ID to DID, but I do know there are a few conversations or a few discussions that happened around moving Microsoft identity onto the blockchain.
Yeah, I know there's a huge effort going on. One of the teams is working on a decentralized identification, which is the ID. Not sure what their plans are. If anything is was finalized, but yeah, they are working on a proof of concept /MVP.
That's really cool. So thank you guys so much for coming here today, and a special extremely thank you to Sid and Jagadeesh for sharing about your work here today. I had a lot of fun and definitely learned a lot, especially with these questions. You guys had some fire questions.
Yeah.
If Cameron, if you don't mind, there's one announcement.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay. So this is kind of some shameless self-promo, but I've actually been working on another project, and it's getting some traction. And because of that, I'll be speaking at TruffleCon this October. So if any of you are interested in coming to TruffleCon, I would absolutely love to have you. My talk is called How DeFi Will Save Small Businesses in a Post-COVID Era. So if you can't tell already by now, I have a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds good, Ishan. Like we will definitely be there. Jagadish and I will be attending virtual TruffleCon.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm extremely excited, and it's virtual and free. So again, feel free to show up, even if it's just for me. As well as I know there's a lot of really cool people. I didn't get to talk to all of you. Hopefully I'll be able to, but if not, I want to drop my email so that we can meet up. And
Any,
Yeah.
Ishan,
Also,
sorry, so what were you saying?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, reach out to both of us as well on LinkedIn. Like, we're happy to like chat, like review your resumes as well. Can like provide feedback. So yeah, reach out to me. Like, I know I was in your shoes like 2 years ago. So
that's so nice of you.
I was about to comment around the TruffleCon. I think in the blockchain thing, TruffleCon is definitely one of the best conferences that I have been. And in the last 2 years, I was to the TruffleCon consistently, and they had a pretty good growth in how the blockchain being one of the platforms for any of the developers in the future. So very excited, and you would definitely learn a lot from there.
Well, Ishan, I'd love for you to, if you have any announcements about the club. I think the majority of the people in the crowd are a part of Blockchain at Michigan. So if you have any announcements regarding Blockchain at Michigan, now's a good time. If not, then I will sort of transition to closing.
I think we can transition.
Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you everybody for, hopping on, participating in this event. Just last couple, housekeeping things. We have next event is with Libra. We have the director of research, Dalia Malki. She is also the, she's a world-class engineer in the world of distributed systems, head of research at Libra. She'll be coming and talking about her experience at VMware, being the first, I believe, distributed systems researcher there. She developed the Hot Stuff protocol, and that event will be co-organized by the Blockchain Club at the Rochester Institute of Technology. Super excited for that event next, I believe, Thursday. I think we're going to try to make it a little bit easier for the East Coasters here because it's getting late. Sorry about that. We will sort of try to push it to 5 p.m. It's currently at 6. We'll push till 5. And then the following event, we have somebody from Baseline Protocol and Fedora talking about the convergence of the public blockchain space and the private blockchain space. I think we got a hint of that today, but there are some really interesting tech companies out there actively working on this. I think Baseline works very closely, I believe, with the Microsoft, some people at Microsoft. I'm not sure, at least they're in discussion. So that's pretty cool. And then some BAF news. Again, the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation, 501c3 nonprofit, try to get people jobs in space. We build courses. We're actually launching a course next quarter at UC Davis. This is accredited blockchain class. We've previously launched the first blockchain courses at UCLA and at UCSB. So we're getting our third one next quarter at UC Davis. This is actually going to be open sourced, which is very exciting. We convinced the department. That was a lot of negotiation and a good old time, but we did it. So this class will be made available for everybody after. And then internally, we got some really great news. We got a grant from the Algorand Foundation to conduct research on the feasibility and the viability of a university local currency. So we are going to be running some focus groups, some case studies about the role of local currencies in universities. I know a lot of your schools have, like, at least at UCSB, we had Gaucho Buck. Nobody used it, but it exists, and we just want to better understand how a local currency can help through this. Especially with remittances and international students.
Yep, Cameron Blockchain at UC did like a study on this. We have like a ton of research as well, so happy to.
Oh, amazing! That. Yes, I would love that, and I'd love to get connected to the lab that you guys have. It's like a currency lab or something crazy. So, yep, love to do that. And then last couple things: become a member. If you're not, this is how you get access to all of our services. It's completely free. We just want to know what you're looking for. And again, this is for everybody, not just students. So, if you're a company looking to hire, if you're an investor looking to invest, if you're a project looking for investment, this is how we, sort of accumulate all this information and sort of be the trusted matchmaker I think that this industry needs. And if you're super interested and want to support the Blockchain Acceleration Foundation and continue our efforts, please donate. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. All your donations are tax deductible, and it's actually really compelling for people who've made a lot of money early in crypto because you don't pay capital gains on the cryptocurrency that you donate. So that is nice. So without further ado, we're going to be moving to the networking portion. Just make sure to turn your mic and camera on. Feel free to jump from table to table. If you jump to a table where there's an active discussion happening, just wait until, you know, the conversation sort of dies down or there's a right time for you to introduce yourself. It can be kind of weird at first with all these, you know, this new way of networking. And if you're at a table where somebody hops in, no one knows them, be nice and ask them to introduce themselves at the right time. You know, this is a very friendly environment. We all are here to get to know each other. So take this opportunity and hope to see you next week. See everybody. Thanks again, Sid and Jagadeesh and Nishan. Have a good one.
Thanks, Cameron.
Yep.
Thanks, Ishan.
Yeah.
See you guys.